Any good administrator knows that when you're trying to introduce a new program to the staff, you need to get them to buy into it. You need to get them to see why this is good for them and good for the students and good for the school as a whole. If you don't, you can force them to use it all you want, but they're not really going to use it as well as they could have. They're gonna do just the bare minimum to avoid getting in trouble, okay? To make it seem as if they are, in fact, doing what you want them to do. But they're not really going to try that hard. So, having established this, that you need to get buy-in and you need to make people understand, help people to understand why it is they should value something. Why do we still have teachers today that are trying to force students to say the pledge? So why am I talking about this? Why am I bringing up this topic of forcing kids to say the pledge? Every now and then it pops up in the news. I actually had a personal experience where I had left my class for the day. I came back the following, and I'm talking to my students. I'm teaching my government class, and I was like expressing them about the First Amendment. Like, you get to express yourself however you want. You don't want to do something, you don't have to do it. It's your right to make a decision on what you want to say and what you want to worship. And then one of my students raised her hand and she's like, well, yesterday I didn't want to say the pledge, but the substitute got mad at me. He called me out. He made me the focus of the entire class because I wasn't saying the pledge. And I gotta say, I have never cursed out a fellow worker, fellow educator, definitely not in front of my students. And I didn't that day, but I came real close. You do not force a student to have loyalty, because forcing them is no loyalty at all. And if you have to be forced to do it, it's not really real loyalty. That student had a First Amendment right to not say the pledge if she didn't want to. And to try and force it onto her is literally the antithesis of our country. This is a land of freedom. You're gonna do what I tell you to do. So yeah, that got me going, and it just got me thinking about, why do we have so many people that think that it's okay to force others to say the pledge, or get upset when somebody doesn't say it or doesn't stand for the national anthem? The Colin Kaepernick issue, for example. You know what? I don't know if I agree with his reasoning. I haven't actually sat down and studied his reasoning in depth, but I mean, he has the right to express himself how he does. And honestly, out of all the ways to express yourself, taking a knee is a relatively respectful way to do it. I know in my class, I told my students, you don't have to say the pledge, but what I ask is that you respect your fellow students that do want to say the pledge. So sit quietly. You want them to respect you, you need to respect them. We all respect each other at the same time. And things work pretty well that way. But rather than getting mad at them, talk to them. Talk to the Colin Kaepernicks of the world. Talk to the students of the world that don't want to say the pledge. Okay? Don't judge. Don't make corrections while they're talking to you. Just listen. And use that as a way to research and learn more about their situation and about the ways that America might not be perfect. Because it isn't perfect. The founders themselves said that they were making this place, this experiment, this grand experiment in republicanism and democracy, in order to create a more perfect union. Because they understood that you can't be perfect. You can strive towards perfection, but you can't be perfect. It's the moment you stop trying to achieve perfection, though, that you start sliding into darkness, that you start sliding into oppression. You start accepting, well, it's okay that it happens to them. Well, eventually, what happens to them will happen to you. I guess I was fortunate as well, because half my family is Hispanic and half my family is Caucasian. So I got to see a little bit of what it was to be both sides. And I understood that America was not always perfect, okay? But I also understood that it was the best option out there, or at least one of the best options out there. And that it enabled me to have access to life, enables me to have access to life, liberty, the pursuit of property, and the pursuit of happiness. And because my parents were stable. Yes, there were issues with them. Yes, they got divorced, but as human beings, they were relatively stable. A couple, not so much, but as human beings, they were. So because of that, I didn't deal with issues of drug abuse or violence in the home. I didn't have to survive every single day. I was able to thrive under my parents and have the luxury of thinking about something grander and bigger than me, like a country. But for a lot of the students we have, they don't have that particular situation. They don't have that stability at home. For them, every day is a struggle. So when you ask them, well, why aren't you saying the pledge, or you're demanding that they be loyal to a country like the United States, the thing is that they don't see necessarily the benefit to it. Because you say, oh, it guarantees you life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and property, but like, I don't have those things, okay? I've got family that are in prison. I've got parents that abuse me. I've got siblings that are on drugs and steal my stuff. For them, it's very much removed. It's not that they don't love America, or it's not that they hate America, it's just not on their radar. Okay? This is just life. This is where they exist. Another type of student are the kind that who have actually been a part of groups, who have been targeted by the United States government, by the state governments. Maybe not presently, but in not too distant memory. There are plenty of people alive today who experienced Jim Crow. Southern states of the past were doing their best to try and prevent African Americans and other minorities from having access to voting and access to equitable education. This happened, and there are people today who experienced that. There are people today who are alive and have shared that story with the next generations. The Japanese Americans, the 1940s, they were interned, had their property taken from them, had their freedom taken from them just because they looked like our enemy during the Second World War. But they were Americans. There are people that are alive today that experienced that. There are people that are alive today that have shared their experiences with their children and their grandchildren. So these things are still very, very fresh in a lot of family cultures. So whereas people like me, yeah, I saw a little bit of issues between of how Hispanics were treated, how women are treated, because I was raised by my mother. I was never seriously affected, but I could glimpse it. Others have been seriously affected. So for them, it might not be as easy as, be a loyal American, say the pledge every single time. Because for them, maybe America hasn't always been the beacon of hope and freedom that it is for the rest of us. All right, so what do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Go ahead and in the comments below, make sure you put whatever you think. No, wait a second, I take that back. You say exactly what I tell you to say. You're absolutely loyal to me and this channel. I don't want to hear anything different than absolute perfection and loyalty. Smith is the best of the YouTubers when it comes to education topics. It's exactly what I want to hear. You get it, right? Some of us are telling students they have to be loyal to they say the play. You get it. Anyways, give me the real, give me the good, give me the bad. Put your comments below. You don't have to be loyal to me, all right? Just give me your thoughts. Like, subscribe. Let me know if there's any other topics that you want to see. Dropping these every Monday and Friday, so tune in. Talk to you later. Bye.